At a combined 38 knockout wins between them, top 10 ranked heavyweights pair off in the co-main event of UFC 293 coming up this weekend. Australia's own Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa looking to reverse fortunes off his last two losses. He's going to be taking on Drago Alexander Volkov, a man who got to the top of the mountain with other promotions, M1, Bellator, but not so in the UFC. And if you look at it for Volkov, he went on a crazy stretch a few years ago, wins in a fight of the night against Stefan Struve, and then he goes out there against Fabrizio Verdum, and he gets bread buttered, and he's working in takedowns. Who is this Volkov? We never see him, but for Volkov, he was able to have a lot of success, and since then, it's been a little bit of 50-50. He's moving up in the division to take on Tai Tuivasa, who's most recently lost to Ciryl Gane in the UFC Paris main event a year ago, and then Sergey Pavlovich, where inside of a minute he got dropped twice. But that's the number one contender. So
Sergey hits hard.
When you look at this fight, Matt, before that, Tuivasa was really moving. He had changed up camps. He was training in Dubai for his fights, and he was looking amazing. Breaking the distance, finishing Augusto Sakai, finishing Derek Lewis, making easy work of these guys. So now he's got a tough fight against the ever-durable Alexander Volkov, who his last time out, that was the UFC free fight that they threw out there on YouTube. He dispatched my guy, Alexander Romanov. Made it look pretty darn easy, too. So when you look at a fight like this, Volkov training in the States for this fight? Yeah, with Hani Marks? A guy who's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. But when you look at a fight like this, Matt, I mean, for Volkov, tall, rangy, he can cardio kickbox for 5 rounds, let alone for 3. And when you look at a guy like Tuivasa, devastating with his strikes, especially if he's able to crash that distance.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's where I do think Tai is going to have a lot of success in this matchup. When Volkov does get backed up, he is not nearly the fighter he is when he's moving forward. I would argue Alexander Volkov has one of the biggest differences in retreating and with his offense between retreating and leading the dance. Because when he's moving forward, oh my god, there's a lot you have to worry about. The guy's 6'7", throws head kicks, has good knees, has great volume, could throw from both stances, which is quite unique for a guy at his size and physique. But the one thing Volkov was not blessed with when he was given all these other physical attributes, the guy's not that fast. He does kill you with his volume more than anything, and it really is his pace and his pressure to go along with that volume. I remember being far too specific and getting way too cocky when he fought Alistair Overeem, and I was like, he's gonna knock him out with a left hook. Oh my god, he did it. Like, that's the thing about Volkov. When he did gain that mass after the Curtis Blades fight, and I'll be curious to see what he weighs in at, because the last few fights will sort of fluctuate up and down, not to the crazy, 20-pound difference.
Not 266 like Tuivasa.
Exactly. But for Volkov, it always has been, okay, if he's going to fight at 265, he is more of that march down type of fighter to where he wants to use his physicality a lot more. But I think this fight comes down to how likely Volkov is using those at the middle attacks. He does have good uppercuts when he's able to get that, kind of dirty boxing half clinch. He throws phenomenal uppercuts, but that's a position Tai also has great offense from. He throws good elbows over the top. His hands are quite a bit faster than Volkov's in that position, and that's why I have a hard time with this fight. I know Volkov, he should be a favorite, just based on his body of work, but I just think the one area he's going to have a lot of success in is also going to open the door for Tai Tuivasa to land his own power shots. And I know Tai's coming off a devastating loss, don't get me wrong, but Volkov doesn't fight like Sergey Pavlovich. If he goes in there with his hands up, just marching forward, throwing crazy power shots, then I'll be the first person to admit that I'm wrong. I just think for Volkov, it's going to come down to, can he land the knees up the middle when they're at the long range to avoid some of the leg kicks of Tai Tuivasa? And can he make Tai pay with the uppercut when Tai does close the distance?
That's it. When you look at a guy like Volkov, whether he's just got the one hand behind or the plum clinch, he can mix things up, but those uppercuts are devastating. The knees are a big deal. The different things that Volkov's able to do at specific ranges. At length, he's able to throw some of those leg kicks out there, paw the jab, land it as a jab with the left hand or as the left hook. He can really paw with his right as well. And when you look at a guy like Tuivasa, whether it's his kicks, I'd say they're probably one of the underutilized portions of his game, but they are pretty good. But he has absolute hammers in his hands. And for Tuivasa, when was the last time we saw him back in Australia? I think it was off his loss when he took on Sergey Spivak, UFC 143 at Marvel Stadium, Whitaker versus Adesanya. Spivak was all the rage up until last week when he took on
days ago.
Ciryl Gane. So for Tuivasa, we'll see if he's able to go out there against a longer, rangier guy in Volkov, crash the distance, and make it his own fight, as he was able to do in that run-up, with that win streak that he had. Now, Volkov is the favorite here in the blue corner, moving up in the division, so to speak, as far as the rankings are concerned. When we have a look at the fan vote over on Topology, surprised us it is to you, I'm going to say over under even though he's a hometown guy, Topology is worldwide. Like it's Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
305.
I'm going to say over under 70% Volkov.
I think it'll be over.
I think it's going to be over. Oh, it's under. 1,140 total votes, 68% Volkov, 72% by knockout. For the 32% that have Tuivasa, 89% by knockout. Matt, who do you have in the matchup?
Tim, I'm sorry, buddy. I know you watch these. I have Tai Tuivasa to win this fight. Again, Alexander Volkov, when he is at his best, when he's at his most devastating, it's getting in close. And I know that sounds weird because he is such a long-rangey fighter, but he can get outworked from those ranges. We saw that in the Cyril Gahn fight. And I know Tuivasa doesn't have the footwork of a Cyril Gahn, but he's got great leg kicks on the outside. We saw that in the JDS fight. I know he lost that fight, but that was the first big step up in competition for Tai Tuivasa. I just think it comes down to the hand speed of Tai, and I think that's what is the difference between these two guys. So I expect it not to go exactly like the Augusto Sakai fight did, because Augusto wasn't throwing nearly as much back at Tai as Alexander Volkov will. But if he gets Volkov up against the cage and puts that posture upright, I do think those big power shots are going to be able to land.
Tai Tuivasa get into the UFC off a win over a guy who's fighting for glory in 2023 in James McSweeney. Won that fight. That was in Australia. Fought on that card that I talked about at the start of this video. The last time the UFC was in Sydney, UFC Fight Night, Verdum versus Tybura, he beat Rashad Coulter, and that was a bonus winning fight. Then he beat Cyril Asker in Perth, but the last two times that Tuivasa fought in Australia, all the way in Adelaide, he loses to JDS and to Sergey Spivak back in Melbourne. So Matt, we'll see if he's able to return to his winning ways in his native Australia. For me, I'm going with Alexander Volkov in this fight. Switching things up, camp in the States for this one. Again, I think he's got the eye on the prize and he's going to be able to get the win. Matt, I can't wait for the walkouts for both these guys, because one guy is going to get booed into the ground and the other guy is going to get some of the loudest cheers you've heard since every French fighter in Paris last week. Why do they have Apex cards anymore? Budget, that's why. Matt, both of us split on the pick. You're going with Bam Bam, Tai Tuivasa. I'm going with Drago, Alexander Volkov. Back piece to win. Matt, the last time we had a fighter representing that country for Volkov with a back piece, it was Bogdan Guskov getting absolutely sent back to that region. Some big time fights on this card, including the main event for the title, Sean Strickland challenging one Israel Adesanya. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.